Hello and welcome to Clusters. Last time we read about how Stephen, one of the 7 disciples of Jesus chosen by the apostles to oversee food distribution in Jerusalem, was arrested, tried and stoned to death by the Jewish religious authorities as a man named Saul stood approvingly on the sidelines. We now read in Acts 8 that this was followed by a terrible persecution of the Christians, many of whom got up and left Jerusalem. Only the apostles stayed behind. Saul, meanwhile, was going house to house, arresting any Christians he could find. Yet from the disaster of Stephen's martyrdom and the persecution comes continued growth for the kingdom. Wherever the Christians went, they preached the gospel. And we have the example of Philip, another of the 7 disciples involved in the food distribution alongside Stephen, who goes to Samaria preaching and performing great miracles. Incidentally, we know this wasn't the apostle of the same name because we know already that he stayed in Jerusalem with the others. While he's in Samaria, Philip comes across a guy called Simon who practices sorcery. It's not clear exactly what that means, but he's impressed the people of Samaria. He starts following Philip, claims to believe, and is even baptized. But for some reason, the people of Samaria aren't receiving the Holy Spirit when they're baptized, as would normally happen. Receiving the Holy Spirit would usually coincide with the water baptism, and so this is an atypical occurrence and not a good foundation on which to base an entire area of theology. And so Peter and John are called in to lay hands on the people to receive the Spirit. Simon is so impressed with this that he offers the apostles money to be taught how to perform this most amazing trick. What do you think of Peter and John's responses to Simon's offer? Is it too harsh or too lenient? And is Simon's response adequate here? Does he do as Peter and John demand? Finally, Peter is then ordered to go to a place on the road from Jerusalem to the coast at Gaza. There he meets a man from Ethiopia, a eunuch who was an important treasury official. He was actually reading the Old Testament scriptures, specifically the book of Isaiah, and had got stuck on a particular section in chapter 53. He couldn't for the life of him work out who this passage was about. But Philip knew this was referring to Jesus, and so starting with that passage, he explained the good news of Christ to this man. He's so bowled over that he wants to be baptized the moment he spots some water. Philip then goes on, miraculously perhaps, to further places and continues to preach the gospel of Christ to everyone he meets. His name crops up once more later in the book of Acts, still living in Caesarea. After the tragedy of Stephen's martyrdom in chapter 7, it's exciting to see how God uses that event to further his kingdom. If your cluster's keeping up, it'll be Easter in a few days, so I hope you have a joyful time. But for now, have a great cluster.